gentlemen, this is Alejandro Rodriguez for Gallery Row Artwalk News Podcast. That's right, we have a podcast now. Today I'm with Greg Gould. Greg.
How's it going, Alejandro?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Greg is a local artist in downtown LA. And tell me, Greg, what inspired you to become an artist? When did you say, hey, that's something I want to do?
Well, I was born and raised in LA, and I'm the youngest of 6. Mm-hmm. And all my brothers and sisters have just been into various kinds of things, music, whatever else. And so, I always liked visual art and stuff like that. And, huge fan of Dolly when I would run into artworks of his. And my parents were very supportive about, being exposed to the arts. Yeah. But it wasn't really until mid-'90s that I kind of started taking it more serious, where I wanted to start showing my artwork around. And, I met this one gallery, started working with this one gallery in 97 in Pasadena, and that was really cool, and moved to Australia for a semester in 97, and I started showing there, and I sold some pieces there. And
do they have a big art scene over there? I'm sure every place has a big art scene.
Sydney has a pretty cool art scene, and so that's where I was. And and at the time I was in college and studying fine art, and so the teachers were all about, at this point in your career, you want to start building up a resume that will help you open doors, art doors, in the future. And so it was really cool because, then it's like notches on your belt or something like that. Where, cool, I had a show in Australia, I'm going to use that and kind of parlay it over here, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure a show in Australia, especially for an American and coming back, that's going to look on a resume.
And what's also interesting, too, is the novelty, which had occurred to me, the novelty of, because I was foreign to them. Yeah. And to them, that's intriguing. Yeah. To you, you're just showing up someplace it's blowing your mind, but it's intriguing to them. Oh, this is an American artist or whatever. Yeah. And...
you get treated differently over there?
Yeah. Yeah. They really
like America. In a good way or in a bad way?
In a good way, way. They're one of the few countries left that likes Americans. Yeah. Definitely for us, it was funny, the time I was there, they were... it was coming up time where they had to decide whether or not to split from the crown or not. Oh. And so, I took an Australian history class because I'm a huge history buff as well. I love history. And, I kept telling them, you know what? You people, they started from just being straight up convicts. They were shipped off. That was a death sentence. Yeah. And they've, of course, with a little bit of help with the crown and stuff like that, they didn't a lot of help. But they are a functioning, amazing country. Split away, man. Do your own thing. We did that, and we were having those kinds of conversations and stuff. Yeah,
they're a big beer swiggling place, right? That's not being negative towards them, but
for sure.
They like their beer.
Oh yeah,
that's good. Do you go to the art walk frequently?
I do. The art walk has been around for, I want to say, about as long since 2005. Nearly as long as the Hive Gallery, and I try to go every month. And these days, in the beginning, it was kind of small. There weren't many people trickling through because where we are at the Hive Gallery, it's kind of like the last outpost of the whole trail. And over time, these days, Art Walk is just as packed as some of the openings. Yeah, it's great. It's totally great.
It's good to see that. Now you said you went to school. How was that, and how important do you think that was on your career?
Well, I went to school, and I majored in fine art, and I didn't, there was a lot of that talk, hey, should you get your master's? Should you not? And the teachers are pushing it, of course. They're teachers, and they had to get theirs, and I always kind of had an issue with, there's people that just figure it out and do it and find a way, and look, if you're trying to find your creative voice, who is somebody else to tell you what it should be?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people who I knew who had gone on and gotten their masters, they said, yeah, I went in, I finished my undergrad, and I went in, and I was all excited, fired up. I felt like I started getting a little style going, like I started kind of developing a style. And I get into and they just totally remake me into something I'm not. And I was in for so long, I don't even know what I want to do anymore. Like it totally discombobulated them, basically. Yeah, so I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. What is the benefit of going to graduate school? And my teacher would say, oh, well, you'll get introduced to galleries. I said, oh, that sounds pretty cool.
But you can really do that on your own.
I understand that now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I came to understand that over time as well, like, is that all that's for? Is that all the debt is for?
Yeah. It seems like debt is something that, it really is that gamble that every student takes.
For sure. It almost reminds me of, you can go into an art store, any art store, and they'll say, okay, we're selling museum grade canvas, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds really special. But there's so many works hanging in international museums right now that were done on scrap wood.
True.
And so, in a way, it's kind of like, they try to sell this romance of, they try to sell this romance of, you want your stuff to last forever. You want it to be perfect, whatever, and all this kind of stuff. But, dude, you could do that on anything.
Yeah.
And believe me, if it's worth something, they will find a way of making it. Yeah.
And you know what? Nothing's wrong with having your art be a little dirtier. There's nothing else. Art should be dirty.
Of course.
I
agree.
It's something that it shouldn't. There's nothing wrong with pristine art.
No.
That takes a lot of time and everything.
Sure.
But I think a lot of art, comes from different emotions. A lot of it,
right,
not always happy.
Right.
So, there's nothing wrong with getting cardboard piece of wood and turning it into art. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, what is it telling you?
Yeah.
What message is getting across by that piece, whatever it's done on?
Mm-hmm.
And does it get you or does it not? Does it piss you off? Do you get it? Or whatever.
The art is more important than the canvas.
For sure. The message behind it.
Yeah. So you talked about the Hive earlier. Want to give us a little bit more info, background info?
Sure. It was funny because I'd moved back from New York. This was about 2005.
Do you want to tell them the story about when you were in New York? We had a conversation earlier that just blew my mind.
It's
one of those.
I lived there from about 1999 to the end of 2002.
Okay, so you know what that means, everybody. You know what story we're going to be talking about. So go on.
You were about 13, you were saying?
I was 13 when it happened.
So yeah, and I, rolled into work one day, and it happened to be September 11th, and we got locked down in the island, kicked us out of work. There's people running all over the place, and it was pretty hectic. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Actually, that was life up until that point was kind of hectic. And I guess that was kind of like a last straw because I'm from here, and I'm like, you know what? Screw this place. I'm over it. I don't. Yeah, forget
the honeymoon of New York was over.
Definitely by then. And and I said, I wouldn't. There's something about the city of LA because I'm so much a part of it that I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Something like that could happen here, and I wouldn't be as freaked out. And I never felt at home.
Yeah.
And plus, it just seemed totally overrated.
Well, growing up, I've always been interested in New York. I guess only because of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The second Home Alone, when he was lost in New York.
Okay.
And
right
Saturday Night Live, those were like three things. I'm like, wow, that happens in New York. I wanna see it that. And all the movies I like, they're usually like 70s era in New York, which I guess
that's
really
cool.
does
seem. That's cool.
That seems like the most interesting time,
right.
And I guess the modern New York history is the 70s.
Right.
I guess just because of all the movies I've seen, it just like I said, it looks dirty, and I really enjoy that too. But I've been hearing more and more people complain about New York, and I don't know if it's the people there or Because media is a very strong thing, and we do take a lot of things and we put our stories in New York.
Sure.
And we put them all in there. So I guess it kind of has a running start talking about how great New York is and all these stories.
Right.
All these LA stories.
Right.
LA writers are writing stories in New York.
But I'll tell you, if you want to see a really cool movie about that time, there's a great movie called Downtown 81.
Oh, yeah?
If you haven't seen it, I'd highly suggest it. It's totally underground, and it was wild because it was shot in shot in 81, or maybe 80, 81, by a bunch of no names. One of which is really wild. Blondie's in it, and like all these people that made the scene. It stars Basquiat before he was even known.
Okay.
So it's really trippy because they were saying, like, while they were filming this, I think it was the guitar player Blondie, said, like, yeah, this kid, that was during shooting one of their videos, and Basquiat's like a DJ in it, said, yeah, I bought this kid's pieces for like, a couple $100, and then sold them for $10,000 like 4 months later or something like that. Because in that time, in that grunge and all that kind of stuff that was going on, and yeah, it was totally run down. It wasn't half as expensive to live in as it is right now. Like we were talking about,
Yeah.
So possibilities could happen.
2,500 for
Probably, yeah, for like a little closet space to live in.
That's horrible.
It's crazy because it's like when the cost of living is that much, then you can't really risk or be creative.
Yeah, you kind of have to play by the rules.
You got to play very safe, but then that stifles the growth of creativity in a scene. So inherently, they kind of wall themselves up, but that's so different here. That's what I think.
Yeah. If there's anybody listening from New York, we're sorry. We're not. we're not talking.
Well, he is. Nah, but no, it's true. It's just what I think. That was my impression, for sure.
Were there a lot of uptight people over there?
There were, but the scene.
Did he have to be part of the scene for a long time before anybody?
It seemed kind of like that, and I had I did have kind of a warped view because, and then I would spend months out of each year while I was there, and we would travel through Europe, meeting with curators and stuff like that. So there were periods of time when I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
And there were joint works that I did that had gotten incorporated into like museum collections over there, which was pretty cool. Again, it's just like. Check.
Yeah.
Because everything, it's like you build your legacy one brick at a time, and you want to build it smart. And it just kind of worked out that way, and it could have been I wanted to leave it, because I wanted to start here and do my own thing. And yeah.
Do you see yourself ever going back there?
You know what? I would work with a gallery there.
Okay.
I would love to work with a gallery. That's fine. There's a place, Super Chief, that I've been in touch with. They're out there, and they kind of have like a very Hy-Vee type vibe. And the curator's really cool. I was in touch with him, and he said, yeah, we might even be doing some pop-up shows in L.A. So, cool, man, I'll meet you here. Send him some images. So, I'd love to work with a gallery there for sure.
You were talking about this earlier to me, the Global Inheritance and what they do. You want to give us a little bit of background on that too?
Yeah, Global Inheritance is a very interesting organization that I met while I was back in LA, and their whole premise is basically reaching out to inner cities and the idea of recyclables and just, before you throw that plastic bottle somewhere else, just put it in recycling. Just, good habits.
Yeah.
Good habits. And what they would do is they have this open call for artists, and they would have a large-scale, life-size recycling bin. You could paint it however you wanted to. Basically, you'll transform this thing into an art piece. And from there, they would have like, okay, well, we may be showing it in Coachella. There was another thing called Stagecoach Festival. But they'll kind of jury the right ones in, because it's just kind of, they're throwing it out there for whoever. And I'd gotten a couple of them into different Coachellas, and that was fun because they hook you up with 2 weekend passes and stuff.
Nice.
That was totally cool. And from there, they travel around. And so one day somebody just said, "Hey, I was at the Natural History Museum and I saw your art bin was there." It was for the show called Sustainable Sundays.
Okay.
So it kind of weaved into it, you know, and so mine and a couple other people's was there, and I have a picture. I was like, because I didn't even know about it, you know. No one told me.
It just got there?
Just was there, and so I could easily just missed it, but I was like, thanks for the picture. You know, that's pretty cool. But, you know, that's what's interesting about doing public works like that is you do these, and then they're just out there. You don't know whatever happens to them. I also had done this large-scale installation. The Hive Gallery teamed up with this organization that put on this music festival. It was 3 days, very much like Coachella. Mm-hmm. Kiss headlined, Bad Religion was playing, Suicidal Tendencies was playing.
Very cool.
It was awesome. 3-day event, and it was, the name will come back to me, but it was around this big race ring, car race ring, and yeah, it was really cool. We teamed up with JVC, and they hooked us up with this whole area to do like installation pieces on. So I did this really big piece. I called it Cartoonocalypse. It was kind of like this bombed-out living room, and I had like this cartoony TV on the wall, and I was able to slip like a flat-screen JVC inside of it and play an art video on it and stuff like that. Okay. So it was kind of interactive. Visual. And I could see people. I had like lounge chairs in it. Like it was set up like a living room. And as I would walk away, I would see people would sit in it and take pictures of each other in it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. It was kind of like an interactive experience.
That's good. Good. You want to talk to us about your? Well, you don't have an actual name for it yet, but from what you said, the Stratosphere Project.
Right.
Star Trek fans, stick around. You know, enjoy this.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I had been kind of talking about this for a little while, and I'm in the middle of getting my ham radio license because there's a beacon. Once I get my call letters, there's a beacon. I've been talking to people who've kind of done this sort of a thing, and what I want to do is build a capsule. I'm going to set it up with a like a weather balloon. Yeah, send it up to the stratosphere with a weather balloon, and I have one of those contour Roam HD cameras on the surface. It'll be like a beer cooler. Mm. And on one end is going to be Captain Kirk and Dr. Spock on camera. So as it rises up, you'll be able to see the clouds, eventually the curve of the planet. Yeah. And then at that level, they say when you blow the balloon up on the surface of the Earth, it's about 6 feet in diameter. But with such little pressure up there, it goes to like the size of a 2-car garage, like 30 feet until it bursts. And then it'll start coming down. And some people are saying, oh, you know, maybe you could use like a Boost mobile phone for $20, turn on its GPS function and track it. But when it gets too high, you'll lose track of it. But somebody said, listen, the thing to do is you get your ham license and you can get a ham beacon that you can broadcast from the stratosphere. Okay. And keep track of where it is that way. So I'm trying, I want to like, you know, get my license so that I can, you know, once I get the license, I'll start building and stuff like that, start updating my site about progress and all the way up in time to the launch. But when they come down, I'm going to retrieve them, turn them into art pieces, and then have a video of them floating around up there with it.
Is there a special reason why you picked Kirk and Spock besides Star Trek?
Two toys going boldly where no toys have gone before. What else? Yeah.
Are you a big Star Trek fan?
Somewhat. I'm kind of into it. You know what? More as an adult, I think when I was a kid, it just seems like it was something from the 60s, but I've kind of really gotten appreciation for things from past decades now.
Well, Star Trek, what I hear a lot, it's supposed to be about racial, basically everybody working together in unity together. That's what I've been told about it, why it's such a good show.
Yeah.
It's still hard for me to watch.
I mean, I trip out on it from like an art form point of view. Like, you know, it's so 60s, you know, and I like that. I think it's very funny. Their interpretation. I mean, you see them walking around with something that is akin to a smartphone. Of course, our smartphones do way more than just that little box with a couple of buttons on it. But they have these naive theories that they show, and I think it's kind of cool, you know. What did they think the future was going to be like? Because it's almost time capsule-like. But I know, I mean, I can't watch it for hours at a time, but I'll watch it if it's on a little bit.
The woman who played Uhura?
Uhura?
Something like that. She was about to leave because I think she wanted to do Broadway or something, and she actually got, I think, a letter or a call from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. asking her to stay on.
Really?
Because I guess he felt it was important, especially for a black woman.
Wow.
You didn't see any black men on there on TV at that time, and
Sure.
if you rarely see any black men, then you're not going to see any black women.
Sure.
It's just the way things are set up.
Very interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Who knew Dr. Martin Luther King was a Trekkie?
You wouldn't have thought.
That's interesting. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
But I guess it does have something to say. I mean, like I said earlier, it's supposed to be about everyone working together in the future, not just, I mean, I'm
Positive
sure there
message.
was the majority were white except for George Takei or Takei.
Or yeah, I mean, yeah. And
there was a Russian dude on there too.
Sure.
During the Cold War, probably the biggest time during the Cold War in the 60s.
Really? See, because I don't know it that in depth. Did they add him?
No, I think he was always part of the show.
Okay, but they kind of like maybe he had more speaking parts. Like, whoa, dude, there's a Russian there.
Yeah,
and they're getting along.
Chekhov. I don't know if he sounded that Russian.
Okay,
to be honest, on the show.
Maybe they had to downplay a little bit of it too at the time.
But I'm sure. I mean, Chekhov. You don't see a lot of regular Anglo males on television called Chekhov.
Did Chekhov, was he drinking Popov?
I don't know. I don't know if he can drink that kind of hard liquor on TV. Like, well, maybe he could. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I always get a trip about those things. Like, I know there's this really funny. Well, it's not funny, but there's a Hitchcock movie that I can think of right now that I called North by Northwest.
Very good.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'll have another one for the road. That was standard. Of course, cars were built stronger and didn't go as fast.
Yeah.
But I talked to my parents sometimes, and it's really funny because they said, "Oh yeah, I remember getting this car. I think it was a Mustang in the '60s, and seatbelts were an option."
Yeah.
Which we decided not to do because that made it cost more.
Mm-hmm. Until Ralph Nader had to ruin it.
Bastard. That's funny.
Now, you have a project coming up early next year that I'm super excited about when you were talking about it. You're working with Metallica.
Yeah.
You want to give us some in-depth information on that? Are you allowed to?
Sure. Okay. It's an interesting thing because we were talking about art walk earlier. Yeah. And one art walk, this is like how things kind of happen. And it's really cool about that. That's what I like about LA. Hive was open, people circulating in and out, a lot of people. And these two girls, they came up to me and they said, hey, we're arranging this 2-day benefit. It's kind of like / Metallica appreciation / benefit for children for the arts. The band's going to be there. There's going to be like a VIP party. We like your work. Do you want to be part of this? And I'm like, sure. That sounds really, really cool. He said, yeah, everybody who's chosen is going to choose one of their songs and make an art piece that kind of about that. But you could put in many pieces in for the auction. And so, I was like, that sounds really, really cool. Their site is called paintitmetal.com. And last I saw, they're still building it out. But paintitmetal.com is the site. Kind of gives you a little background on it and stuff like that. But they're hoping to do that in January 2014.
Is there a specific date, or is it just January 2014?
As far as I know right now, they're still trying to lock down certain details. So it's pretty open, but, I'll start producing.
Is it going to take place in LA?
Yeah. They think they're going to do it, I think they said, either Glendale or Pasadena.
Okay. And
the piece, I really like that song, Blackened. I like pretty much a lot of their stuff. And I stopped kind of listening after the Black album.
I can understand that. It changed a lot.
But Death Magnetic is pretty cool. It sounded very flashback. And if I'm not mistaken, Bob Ross produced that, did he? Or not Bob Ross, Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin. You can tell. And which is really, it sounded like maybe Justice for All era kind of. And I had done this piece, and I wanted to expand it into a series. It was a lamp, which is basically like a head on a pole probably about like a 1.5 foot pole, so it's not like a freestanding tall lamp or whatever, with a hooded gas mask, like a soldier. But after I'd made it and I looked at it, I realized that it looks like a beheaded soldier. I said, you know what, this is a kind of a thing I'd like to expand. Why not make the whole platoon?
Yeah.
You know, like you could totally... Some people kind of cop out if they find like an idea that they like and they milk it to death. And some people who turn into like a one-trick pony or something like that, which I don't ever want to be that. And besides, there's too many ideas to get to, you know. But in this case, I thought it'd be kind of cool, you know, just different soldiers. And so I'm going to do one of those for that show based off the song My Apocalypse.
Do you have a favorite Metallica album?
Well, I'd always been a real big fan of Master of Puppets, but yeah, Ride the Lightning's it's hard. It's hard.
Myself, I'd probably have picked Ride the Lightning. It's a great album.
Fantastic.
Forward to the end.
You know, it's the weirdest thing. I can remember listening to some of the songs, and I'm like, thinking back, okay, did anybody help you? Like, there's just, like, certain, you know, melodies and stuff like that. It's like one after the next. It's like, wow. Like, wow, it's amazing.
Well, they're really skilled,
really good
musicians.
Really good chemistry, it seems like.
I think Kirk Hammett was taught by Joe Satriani.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah.
So I mean,
that's pretty good. Yeah.
That's huge. You know,
for real.
For if you're not a guitar fan, Joe Satriani is like
it's pretty amazing.
Wunderkind? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that would probably be he's amazing. Think of your favorite guitarist, he's probably better than him.
Right. Well, because it was funny. I remember, like, when I was a kid, you know, his album Flying in a Blue Dream came out. It was about early 90s, 92, 93. And then, of course, Passion and Warfare by Steve Vai, who's also just amazing.
Yeah.
Like, they're like Coke and Pepsi of that genre, you know? Then that douchebag Yngwie Malmsteen tried to come around, you know, whatever. But these two guys really...
Yngwie is a good guitarist, though.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
He does talk.
No, okay.
He talks... the way I see about Yngwie is he talks very openly about how good he is.
Right.
And I think the second you start talking about how good you are, it comes off very unflattering to others.
Okay. But he's good.
Yeah.
Technically, he's good.
I just think maybe he's too upfront about how good he is.
Sure.
And we don't want that.
Nah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, whatever you do, yeah, it should speak for itself. It's like art, like if you have something hang out on the wall. That's why I've never really been too much of a fan of, like, conceptual art. That, like, it relies so much on somebody telling you what it means.
Yeah.
You should be able to look at something and get it.
Yeah.
And understand it, like, no questions. Even if one person gets one thing and one person gets something else, it could be saying more than one thing at one time to two different people, depending on where you're coming from in your head.
You don't want anybody telling you exactly what it is.
Yeah, but see, there was a whole movement, which I think, by the way, is kind of dying out. Like, there was this guy, Chris Burden, you know, and he's the guy who's got those street lamps in LACMA. And, again, I don't know who's going to hear this, but I'm just not a fan of conceptual art. Like, he had one, in the 70s, he had somebody shoot him for like, a performance art. He got nailed to the top of a VW Bug. It was like, what the hell does that accomplish?
Yeah.
You know, you have a couple photos from it, you're nailed to a... But whatever, man. Anybody can do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I technical skill, I can respect if someone has technical skill and stuff like that, or what, yeah, that's a really good piece when you see it, you know, but something conceptual is just so flimsy, you know, it's so up there, I can't really get into it.
That's right. Now, for any of the listeners who read the Gallery Row Artwalk News, or GRON. I think we should just call it GRON.
Why not?
If you read our newspaper, you may notice some of your political cartoons come up there every once in a while, Greg. You want to talk about that?
Sure. You know, it's funny because I'd met Carrie a couple of years now, and again, I think it was at an art walk, and she said, you know, I newspaper, Gallery Row Artwalk News, and I never really considered myself a cartoonist per se, but I thought, occasionally things would kind of come to me, and I'll kind of draw them out and write them down. And I have notebooks, that I do that with, and if it ever came to a time, I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool, but it seems like there's so much red tape, have an agent, whatever, to try to get to any kind of like a newspaper publication. And she came up and I said, well, maybe I could do cartoons. She said, totally, give me what you got, and I figured I'll try a couple of months because I don't know if I can come up with anything after that. But you know what, if you're just a little conscious about what's going on in the world, they kind of tend to write themselves.
They do.
And,
especially since politicians are such idiots.
Yeah, completely.
It just works out for you.
And at least the one thing, because, satire in comics has been around as long as the printing press.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I really appreciated. It's like, that's the lowest, printing has been around for so long, and it's like, that's the base point of what, got circulated and stuff like that, and get ideas circulated. And there's just something so cool about getting into that as well, because that has such an old tradition. And, no matter where your politics lie, there's plenty of things to look at that even rise above all of that stuff, that just involve us as people and what we have to deal with every day. Like I was saying, it was really funny. A couple months ago, I was thinking about to take a road trip and thinking, God, it'd be really funny if those signs on the side of the open road have like a, speed patrolled by drone instead of how they say speed patrolled by airplane.
Yeah.
And so I said, just like a flash, it was in my head. That's going to be next month's cartoon. So I draw it out. Next month comes out. And then about a month and a half after that, I saw this article about somebody who had printed fake, speed patrolled by drone road signs just outside of San Francisco. So I said, it's really funny because it's funny, but it's not funny. But if you think about it, that's coming.
Yeah.
So those are the only steps somebody else would have had to take to realize, I'm going to make those signs and put them out there. There's that idea is just kind of circulating out there.
Did you, growing up, did you read a lot of political cartoons?
Not necessarily.
No?
No, it's funny. I think me and politics really literally started. I really got more interested in it after 9/11.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, because after that, literally, I would scour the internet, what's going on next or whatever, and there were times that I would stand on the side, like, where I was living, it was, like, directly across the Hudson River to the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
So, we're looking down, and I remember seeing they had those lights flying up for a while in remembrance or whatever in place of, but, I remember it was September 12th, and I'm like, I gotta go to work tomorrow. But literally, you would see this thick brown cloud blanketing from the tip of the island to way uptown. And I was working in Midtown, so I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have to go in and breathe this crap. Of course, it was probably much worse down there, where you could kind of taste. You could taste.
They had to wear the
mask. I'm glad I got out of there, man. There's all kinds of problems going on down there with respiratory illness, and that's what sucked too, because a lot of the artists lived down that way because it was cheaper, Well, cheaper.
But you do you see yourself continuing to make the political cartoons?
You know what? I do. It's kind of become easier. Like I kind of the process of my own head when I just kind of look at things, and it's interesting because it's one of those things where if you just look at things in a certain way, all kinds of ideas suggest themselves to you. Mm-hmm. You just have to kind of be open, and I guess it's like anything else. If you're too close-minded about something, you might miss a lot of stuff. But in this case, for instance, I have the next month's one. It's going to be pretty funny. I saw this article about how your Facebook friends can affect your credit score. Did you see that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, there's certain companies now that said, you know what, certain places will look at who your Facebook friends are and it'll affect your credit. So I'm going to have like hands holding a smartphone. I'll send you a link. But certain friends or somebody will be holding a smartphone with a text message from somebody that says, "I'm sorry, but I'm unfriending you from Facebook. It's not you, but I'm trying to rebuild my credit score."
Well, I've heard of companies looking to hire new people, and they'll actually go on that person's Facebook, and they'll look at their statuses, and if you're up down there saying, "Oh man, I got so drunk last night."
Right.
I mean that.
See, I never go on Facebook. I barely do. Like, I'll tweet stuff like that, and at the end, I'll give my Twitter handle and my website and stuff like that. But I've always kind of been weird about it, and then all these other revelations, where they're sharing with so and so. But even employers. Kids these days don't even realize like what they do. It's like a digital tattoo, and it can be found out, and then they get bit in the butt realizing it. But you gotta watch out.
Should have put my dong on it.
Seriously. You know what's funny? Somebody told me about this app that was created that you could send something that will self-destruct in 15 seconds.
I have that app.
Do you really?
It's called Snapchat, and basically you find out you want Snapchat. And it's not all dongs and tits, so you don't got to worry about that. But it's basically your friends send you a picture, you hold on to the screen. Because
really?
I guess if you want to save something on your iPhone or you have to hold the power button and the little menu button at the same time, and it'll snap it. But it won't snap it if your finger's stuck on there.
Got it.
And that's the only way you can watch it. So
interesting.
That's how the kids are showing their dongs.
Yeah, man, that's good times.
A lot safer.
Exactly.
We're living in much better times, I guess. If you want to show your dong.
Right. And it was funny. One of the ones from before too was like a text from somebody else, one of the cartoons, and it said, I'm breaking up with you because my doctor said texting you too much is giving me carpal tunnel syndrome. It's like a text TD or something like that.
No, you did well, I guess I would consider a very famous political cartoon where it's a man from, I guess, the restroom sign holding the gasoline guzzle.
Yes. Yeah,
it looks like a gun right to his head. And I've actually seen that different places. I've seen it on Tumblr with a ton of hits. I've seen I might have seen it on t-shirts, and my friend has it on his desktop.
That's cool.
It's a very...
I gotta show you something funny. A buddy of mine showed me a guy who got a tattoo of it.
Shut up.
Yeah.
So you...
Which I didn't know about. He's like, hey, get a load of this, man. Okay.
You're going to be on somebody's body for the rest of their life.
But what's funny is, like, it's one of those things, again, that made sense because... And that was from, like, the first Gulf War in 2003, and we were screaming, of course, when gas was getting on at 345, but, I mean, it was a lot of angst and a lot of, like, God damn, man, it's bleeding me dry. And it's the kind of thing, when gas prices go up, it makes sense again. Yeah. And then when it doesn't, it kind of leans, but it's like an evergreen. It's always, so long as we're reliant on petroleum products and everything else, it'll somewhat be relevant. Yeah. But the idea of, like, because gas stations in the past, you could either self-serve or an attendant would come up to you and pump your gas on and stuff. So why not self-serve? It's like something we got to do to ourselves.
Yeah.
And yet, it's like we're killing ourselves, or at least our wallets,
Yeah.
And so there's, again, I've heard different interpretations. Some people think they're just drinking it or whatever. Yeah. And again, it doesn't mean anything one particular, but when you get it, you get it.
Yeah. Very big. Okay, your Hive thing, because I want to mention this before we get out. It's a monthly thing. It starts tomorrow. Is it every... What days does it come on?
So the first Saturday of every month.
First Saturday of every month.
Every month we have an open. This particular month, it's a PBS themed show. So I did a Big Bird from Big Bird from
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street, correct. And but we change them out every month. And he's always looking for new artists, Nathan, the owner and curator. Mm-hmm. And I try to change out my studio there as well as much as I can. But like lately, things have been pretty busy. And it's like, trying to produce for certain shows and stuff like that. The business of art is like it's like a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
but you gotta keep at it. That's the only thing. And that's the thing is, people sometimes they just start dropping out, and it's about staying power. You have to have good ideas, but you just gotta keep at it year after year after year. But the Hive, we have openings every first Saturday of every month, and it's hivegallery.com, and Artwalk, which is the second Thursday of every month.
Yes.
So sometimes that's the following Thursday, and sometimes not. I think next Thursday is Artwalk.
So, do you want to give us the address to the Hive?
Oh yeah, sure. It's 729 South Spring Street between 7th and 8th. And the web address is hivegallery.com.
Mm-hmm.
And as for my own site, it's gouldeycandy.com. That's GOULDEYECANDY.com. In case eye candy was like that whole iMac type thing where it's just a letter I. No, it's like an eyeball eye.
Okay.
And my Twitter handle is @GouldEyeCandy. So yeah, I tweet more than I post things on Facebook. So you could follow me there as well, or send me an email. And if you're interested in checking out my work or working with me or whatever.
Any Instagram?
Not yet, but you know what? I'm leaning towards it. Maybe this weekend I'll set something up. I got to stay current with those kinds of things. There's Pinterest, Instagram. I got to get into that stuff.
You're at the Hive Gallery all the time, then. So you'll be there.
I'll be there for
listeners to meet you.
I'll be there. If you want to come to the gallery and see my work, send me an email. We can make an appointment by appointment. Totally.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've come to the end of our great podcast. I'm Alejandro Rodriguez with my special guest, Greg Gould, on our debut podcast. And before we leave, I want to tell a little story about how we got to where we are right now. When we got here, the people at Braun were in the office, so we were kind of screwed. And we found this back room filled with art, which is the weirdest thing. Art to inspire art. And it's just beautiful. Electricity still running through it, lights still working. It was great.
Totally bootleg, but we got it done.
Bootleg, which, like I said before, art should be dirty, and this is very... And I guess podcasts should be very dirty, too.
Podcasting from a bunker.
I'm Alejandro Rodriguez, and if you could listen to me, I have a radio show going on called Discovery, and you can find that at my school radio website called kdhr.net. Look for show archives, and that should be up there. I also have some articles that I post every once in a while on stupidsmartkids.tumblr.com. You can find my stuff there. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for having me, man.
No problem. I'll see you all very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.